All right, let's talk about armholes. Today we're diving deep into armhole adjustments.
Ooh, a deep dive.
Yeah, we're gonna uncover how this, seemingly small detail
Right.
can totally make or break the fit of a garment.
Oh, yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Diving right in
Yeah.
to these YouTube transcripts and PDFs,
Okay.
Ellie breaks down armhole adjustments into two main categories: enlargement and reduction.
Makes sense.
And she starts with enlargement and is basically explaining that it's all about removing fabric
Okay.
strategically
No.
to create more room or change the overall style.
Right. She talks about how even just like a tiny little adjustment, like widening it even just by a centimeter or two,
Right.
can completely change how the garment looks.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And so in one of the videos,
Okay.
I noticed that Ellie is using this basic bodice pattern
Uh-huh.
to demonstrate, how to enlarge the armhole.
Right.
And she suggests using 2 centimeters for deepening it
Okay.
and 3 centimeters for widening.
Got it.
But she's very specific about how that widening is distributed.
It's-
It's more on the back piece than the front.
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah, why is that? Why do you think?
Well, I mean, if you think about how your arms naturally hang,
Yeah.
the back of your arm needs a little more space, right?
It's true.
So her technique is taking that into account
Okay.
to make sure you have a comfortable fit
Right.
and that you can, move freely.
That makes total sense. And she stresses that anytime you adjust the armhole,
Yeah.
the sleeve needs to be adjusted too.
It's got to match.
It's got to match. You've got to lengthen it
Uh,
to match that new armhole length.
right.
And she has very specific methods for doing that.
I'm sure she does.
It involves adding fabric at certain points along the seam.
And this is where it gets a little,
Yeah, it seems tricky.
tricky. Yeah, you're not just adding length.
Right.
You're actually having to reshape that sleeve to fit that new armhole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she uses a lot of visuals,
I noticed that.
Like she talks about making sure you keep that natural curve of the sleeve cap and avoiding what she calls the bowl and the dreaded number 0 shapes.
Can you unpack that for us a little bit?
Sure. So imagine like a bowl flipped upside down.
Okay.
That's that bowl shape she wants you to avoid.
Okay.
It creates this flat, unflattering sleeve cap,
Right.
and it doesn't let your arm move very well.
Ah,
And then the number 0 shape is like this exaggerated curve, almost pointy.
okay.
And that can make the sleeve look kind of awkward. And bumpy.
Oh, so we're looking for that nice in-between.
Yes, smooth, natural curve.
Got it. And she also talks a lot about relocating the sleeve notches.
Oh, the notches are so important.
Those little markings.
They're like the cornerstones of a building. If they're off, the whole structure's messed up.
So we really got to pay attention to those.
You do.
So we're moving those notches in proportion to our armhole adjustments.
Right, exactly.
I'm starting to see how precise this all is.
It's not just about slashing and spreading fabric.
No, it's not willy-nilly.
No, you got to be precise.
Okay.
This is where understanding that relationship between the armhole and the sleeve is so important.
Yeah, they really work together.
They do. It takes careful planning. You got to execute it well.
Now, something else I notice in the videos is that she constantly emphasizes that the back sleeve is wider than the front sleeve.
She does. That's so important.
Yeah, it's like her mantra almost.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
It seems like such a big deal to her.
It is a big deal. Again, think about how our arms naturally hang.
Yeah.
The back of our arm is further from our body than the front.
Okay.
So if the back sleeve isn't wider, it's going to pull and restrict your movement.
Gotcha.
It's all about that, the Bewegungsfreiheit.
Freedom of movement.
Yeah.
So we've talked about widening and deepening, adjusting the sleeve, relocating those sleeve notches.
It's a lot to keep in mind.
What else should we keep in mind for armhole enlargement?
Well, she talks a lot about fabric choice, too.
Oh, right.
It can be trickier with certain fabrics,
Like what?
like a thick wool or a bulky knit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about understanding how different fabrics behave.
So like a stretchy knit might need less widening.
It's
That-
like a woven fabric. Exactly. And with thick fabrics, you might need to use a bigger seam allowance.
Oh, okay, to accommodate all that.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we have a pretty good grasp on enlarging armholes.
I think so, too.
What do you mean problems?
Like sometimes the fabric might bunch up
Oh, yeah.
or pull in certain spots.
Right.
That might mean you need to change the bodice or the sleeve pattern.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it all fits smoothly.
So it's not just about the armhole.
It's not. It's about everything around it, too.
It's all connected.
Totally.
And that's where the notches come in again, right?
Yes, those little guideposts,
Uh-huh.
they make sure the sleeve and armhole line up.
So even though we're making the armhole smaller, we still need to adjust the sleeve.
Oh, for sure. In fact, it's even more important here.
Okay.
Because we're changing the whole armhole curve.
Right.
So the sleeve has to match.
Gotcha.
It's not a race.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And earlier we were talking about how the sleeve adjustments
Uh-huh.
can be even trickier when you're reducing the armhole.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges there?
Well, we're not just changing the length.
Right.
We're changing the whole shape of the sleeve cap
Okay.
to fit that new armhole.
So like a simple sleeve would be easier to adjust
Way easier.
than like a puffed sleeve.
Oh, yeah, with gathers and pleats.
Right. Yeah.
That can get complicated.
And she mentions that even when we're reducing the armhole,
Yeah.
the back sleeve is still wider.
Always.
Always wider than the front.
Always. You got to remember that.
Okay. It's all about that natural arm curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're shrinking things down, but still keeping that balance.
It all has to work together.
Like a puzzle.
Exactly, a puzzle.
So we've talked about assessing the design, pinching the fabric,
Right.
adjusting the sleeve,
Mm-hmm.
making a muslin.
Muslins are your friend.
It's a lot to keep in mind, but
Yeah, but it's worth it.
it's worth it, and it's a process.
Yeah, you got to be patient. You got to be precise.
And you got to experiment.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it might take a few tries to get it right.
That's okay.
Okay, good to know.
We all make mistakes.
So we've got all this down. We can enlarge,
Uh-huh.
can reduce,
Ellie's got some tips for that, too.
but let's save that for another deep dive.
All right. Sounds good.
Because we're out of time for today.
I know. It's amazing how fast the time flies
It really is.
when we're having fun with armholes.
Exactly. But thank you so much for joining us on this journey
Of course. Always a pleasure.
into the world of armhole adjustments. And remember,
Yeah.
a well-fitting armhole is like the foundation
It is.
of a flattering garment.
Absolutely.
So pay attention to those details,
Yes.
and your sewing projects will thank you.
They will.
Until next time, happy
Bye.
sewing!
Happy sewing, everyone.